All right, so to answer your question here, it was where does the negative 9x squared come from? So we're talking about this value right here, and then also the negative 18x. And we subtract and bring down. So let's go back for a second. So the whole deal with the long division with polynomials is that it's really similar to long division with just regular numbers. So for example, if I'm going to take, let me change from highlight. If I'm going to take something like 293 and I want to divide that by 4. Well, we want to look and see 4 times what makes, well, we break down, even though it's 293, we start to look at it at the different place value, like 2 for 200. And so we can try and start dividing until it kind of makes sense. So 4 times something to make the number 2 doesn't work. So I got to think about it more like the number 29. So 4 times what makes 29? Well, the closest thing would be a number 7. So I'm putting 7 up here. Then I take that 7 and I multiply it with 4, which makes 28. And so I write that number there. Then we subtract those two things, which leaves me with a number 1. And so then that 1, 4 cannot go into that 1. So then I bring down the 3 to make actually a 13. And the process starts over again. I'm saying, okay, 4 times what will make 13? The closest thing you come up with would be 12, which is if you multiplied by a 3 here. So I say 3 times that 4 makes 12. And again, I subtract, and that leaves 1 left. So to kind of mirror this with a polynomial, again, this would be my remainder. And we can write remainder 1, or we would write 1 over the thing we divided by, which was the 4. So to mimic this with the polynomials, I'm going to rewrite so you can see where those numbers all came from. It was 4x to the third minus 17x squared plus, we had 0x, I guess, because there was a placeholder, minus 58. So we want to make sure that the degrees are counting down. So x3, x2, x1, or you don't really see an exponent on there, and then just the number. And so again, the process starts the same. I am going to take a look at just this little x here and then this 4x to the third. So we're saying x times what would make 4x to the third? Well, that's going to be a 4x squared. So I take that, and because it's a binomial here that I'm actually dividing by, not just x, but x minus 2, I have to distribute. So 4x squared times the x first would make 4x to the third. And then 4x squared times negative 2 makes negative 8x squared. And then I'm going to want to change the signs. Actually, it's subtraction. So just like over here, we subtract. But I'm changing the signs when I subtract polynomials. So it's going to be minus 4x cubed and then plus 8x squared. So you can see the x cubes cancel. And then we have negative 17x squared plus 8x squared. That makes negative 9x squared. So that's where that part is coming from. Now, just like the example with numbers, we brought a 3 down because that was the next thing. We're going to bring down that 0x. And again, it's acting like a placeholder for us. And we start the process again. X times what makes negative 9x squared? Well, that's going to be a negative 9x. We distribute that. Times x makes negative 9x squared, and then times negative 2 makes a plus 18x. But remember, we're going to change the signs here, so it's going to become a plus and then minus 18x, which again, that was part of your question. So the 9x squared and negative 9x squared, those cancel. We're left with negative 18x. I bring down negative 58, and again, I start that process again. So I say x times what makes negative 18x? It'll be negative 18. I take that negative 18, distribute it with x. That makes negative 18x. Distribute it with that minus 2. It makes a positive 36. And I'm going to, again, go change my signs here. So plus 18x minus 36. So the negative 18x plus 18x, those cancel. And then negative 58 minus 36 will make negative 94. And there's nothing else to bring down, so that's my remainder. So it's really similar to what we do with our regular numbers. I'm going to write plus negative 94 over x minus 2. Sometimes people might write this ending here as just minus 94 over x minus 2. Either way is totally fine. So hope that makes more sense.